So higher education is dealing with a crisis of an image crisis right now. We do know that the larger challenge or threat for higher education is what people think about us.
Recently we have seen several instances across the country, but even closer here in Michigan, where some universities and colleges, they haven't figured what you just described out. Welcome to the Pathway Project podcast. I am Donta Truss, Vice President for Enrollment, Development, and College Futures, and I'm excited to be here today to further introduce this podcast. The podcast is centered around identifying strategies, solutions, outcomes that will assist learners with being the best that they possibly can be. I will get an opportunity on a regular basis to be joined by great colleagues who've been extremely impactful in the higher education ecosystem, colleagues who look for pathways and approaches to make sure that we don't leave anybody behind in this great educational journey. Today, I am joined by Dr. Danny Velez, an amazing colleague that I've had a great opportunity to work many years with. Dr. Velez has partnered with me to ensure barriers are removed, to knock down walls, whatever it takes to help students be successful, and I'm excited to have him join me. With that in mind, let's jump right in.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah. So tell the audience who Dr. Danny Velez is and a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, well, first of all, Dr. Truss, thanks so much for inviting me to this podcast. This is the first time I've been on a podcast, so this is an especially special honor for me. I've been in higher education for almost 25 years, and my journey has been through a number of institutions. I started my journey in the system of higher education in SUNY, State University of New York, and I spent most of my time there for about 18 years at a MSI, Minority Serving Institution. Moved on to Pennsylvania in another state system institution. Worked at a HBCU following that, a community college. I've lived in about 7 states. My higher education journey has taken me to about 7 states, and came to Grand Valley because Grand Valley was doing something special at the time when we were all in a state of I would say a state of panic in the country and the world, and that was during COVID, where other places were really focused in on the here and now, or the there and now. Grand Valley was focused on the future. Grand Valley had developed a strategic enrollment management plan. They were talking about growing, and I thought that was really bold, ambitious, and it also demonstrated that they saw the possibility of the future, and that's somewhere I wanted to be.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Velez, I'm a first-generation student, or was a first-generation student. You know that. I think you were as well.
Yeah.
That provides a lens for me that allows me, I believe, to have a bit of a different perspective about the route to and through higher ed. I utilize that lens as I'm making decisions and as I'm navigating systems. Talk a little bit about how being a first-generation student has impacted your work in enrollment management, specifically around admissions and recruitment.
Yeah, great question. As a first-gen student, I remember my own time, my own journey in higher education. I remember really early on when I was in high school, not knowing that I would actually go to college until I was a senior in high school, where I was told that I was going to college. I had that teacher who said, "You're going to college." And I said, "Okay, I guess I'm going to college." And I started applying feverishly to a bunch of institutions. But it was a difficult process because, I had a family that where I had to ask them for the W-2s and the income statements. And I had a family who would say, "What do you need that for? That's none of your business." And so it was really challenging because they've never gone through that process before. And so they were, I was trying to help them along while no one was really helping me along in that process. And so what has that done for me? It's helped me understand that that we've got to treat our learners as if they all do not know the college going process. Don't take for granted that everyone or anyone really knows the college going process. It's important for us to ensure that we are breaking down barriers, that we're identifying whatever barriers exist, and that we are making ourselves student friendly, student centered in that process, but also family friendly and family centered in that process, because the college going experience is very much not just about the student, but it's about the entire family. And so we got to look at how we communicate, for example, with families very differently. So as we are using technology to be on the cutting edge of getting to learners, we have to understand who is that technology leaving behind. Because in some families, the conversation about college, about education, about life happens at the dinner table, and it happens in old tech, not new tech ways. It happens because a publication comes to your home, a postcard comes home, not because an email went home or a text message went home. Whereas the student may get the text message and the email, the parent or the family does not. So just thinking about how we model our systems and our processes in such a way that gets to the learner and the families in some of the more basic ways, and ways that ensure that barriers are broken down.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on so many points, Danny, and there are things that we have to pay attention as we are conversing and building relationships and knocking those walls down with the parents and the learners. And on top of that, we have a ton of things going on in higher education right now. Talk a little bit about what you've identified as the big issue, the big concern that we should be paying attention to that.
Yeah. So higher education is dealing with a crisis of an image crisis right now. We have a demographic cliff. Everyone talks about the demography and its impact on enrollment. We have less humans, so we have less individuals to recruit. But we do know that the larger challenge or threat for higher education is what people think about us. And, that boils down to what they think about affordability and the impact of a degree on actually getting outcomes. And so in our role, we have to make sure that we're telling the story of what it means to earn a 4-year degree, and what outcomes that has for not only the learner but the family, and that a 4-year degree is still a viable and important degree for lifetime earnings. That your lifetime earnings, more than double when you earn a 4-year degree. And so our job in combating essentially the negative narrative is one where we are giving the families real information about what it costs to go to college, how quickly they can earn their degree, and what support services they have available to them to ensure that they're getting their degree in a timely fashion. So, in order to do that, we have to be kind in our process. We have to understand that there are multiple pathways to earning that degree, and that not everyone is ready to do it in a traditional way. And so in the work of admissions, we have to understand the different learner types, and we have to be able to communicate the different ways in which those learners can earn that degree. But we can't do that in isolation. We need the entire university to come along with us. The university has to provide the product, if you will, that we are essentially selling on behalf of the institution that is relevant to learners, where they feel like they can invest and that they should invest in that degree.
Yeah. Recently we have seen several instances across the country, but even closer here in Michigan, where some universities and colleges, they haven't figured what you just described out. And so it has caused them to close. and it's predicted there will be other closures. We know some of the impact is because of demographic shifts, like you've talked about. We know part of that is the dearth. It's just not as many persons being born, which then means there are not as many persons graduating from high school. So the pool is getting smaller. What's your thoughts on how, when that does happen, where a school must close, how can we assist at Grand Valley State University to ensure that those learners still have a great opportunity to continue their education, to continue the drive to reach their aspirations without missing a beat?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that we do see a loss, closing of institutions that have been around for, over 150 years in many cases. We've seen some of that here locally, as you've said, and, at Grand Valley, we've been very responsive to those learners. We've been able to provide them with an avenue, a teach out agreement. We've been able to provide them with support services, breaking down the barriers or the red tape for enrollment, providing specialized tuition and scholarship opportunities for those learners, knowing that we want them to complete. We owe it to them to complete, and we owe it to the higher education community to be good stewards and good partners in that process. So not only is Grand Valley responsible to its own student, its own learners, but we're responsible for the learners within our community. And when the community is impacted by such a closure, it's wonderful when we're able to step up and be able to say, we're here to provide to provide you with an education to complete your degree, and do so in a way that's affordable and that's supportive.
Right, and without barriers.
Yeah, absolutely, and without barriers, because, it's one thing to say, come transfer to Grand Valley and you go through our process, but the processes are not designed for that learner in that particular moment in time with those circumstances. So we have to meet the learner where they are and adjust the circumstances so that learner is able to then access Grand Valley at the point at which they are. And that's what we've done. Yeah.
Danny, it's so important that we're integrating beyond cutting edge technology into our processes, into the work that we do. But it's also important to have strong relationships with our prospective students and our current students. How do you balance that in an office like admissions and recruitment?
Strong relationships. I think it really goes to ensuring that you are not forgetting the basics of ensuring that you have the connections with the community, ensuring that you are out in the community working with organizations. One such way we do that is through our 8th grade pathways to Grand Valley. Our 8th grade pathways to Grand Valley allows us to connect with leaders in the community, families in the community, children, students in the community, and it allows us to be seen as, just part of that community. And so those relationships then allow the community to see us more than just a higher education institution, more than just a business.
All the work and the pieces that you have described throughout your responses, reminds me that enrollment management, it's a space that can be filled with ups and downs. It's intense work. Sometimes you go unthanked. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank
Danny.
you.
But a big part of your role is leading a great team, as you've mentioned. And they experience all those things that I've just mentioned, the ups and downs, the intensity, the make sure you do better next year than you even did this year, even though you did really well. How do you lead in a manner that balances productivity and excellence, but with also the well-being and all those pieces that come along with keeping the team together?
Yeah. Leadership, just like, as you lead through various challenges, and you adjust your leadership approach based on those challenges, based on the dynamics of the day. We I for me, I'm fortunate to have a really talented and strong team, and I think about leading a team similar to when we work with students. I think about it in terms of challenging the team, but also supporting the team. So challenge and support. And it's important to provide the team with the feeling of security and support through, so that they can weather the storms that come, and they can celebrate when the those storms turn into sunny days. We are a very data heavy profession, and we do a lot where we are not just measuring for the sake of determining where our enrollments are going to come through, but we measure to see how we're also performing. And I think that that areas that don't look at leveraging their data in that way really miss an opportunity to innovate, and really miss an opportunity to challenge themselves to think differently about how they interact, not just with the data, but with their teams. In our office, we have a fun committee, and the fun committee is responsible for ensuring that we're always keeping an eye on fun in the office, to ensure that we're engaging with things like, a soup and chili kickoff, ensuring that we're buying pizza and we're buying donuts, and that we're really just taking care of each other. That before the recruiters go out on the road, they're buying them, a small welcome or care package that they can take with them. It's the little things that are super important that you don't take your eye off, because those are the people that are interacting with our students and families. And so the last thing you want is for them to feel like they feel like they don't matter. You have to absolutely be certain that the approach you're taking makes them feel like they absolutely matter, because they do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to come over and see who that person is in charge of funds,
Yeah.
so I can dive in on some of that. Yes, love it. And the pizza day. Remind me when it's pizza day.
We'll let you know when all the pizza comes in.
Yes. Danny, I opened up this morning with sharing comments with our Strategic Enrollment Management Leadership Academy. And one of the things that I mentioned this morning is that we at Grand Valley appreciate and push hard to celebrate the fact that we're not closing doors to students, but we're opening doors to learners.
Yeah, it's about being a shepherd. Admissions being the shepherd at the front door. It's not about creating. It's not about being a gatekeeper. It's about being a shepherd, and someone that ensures that we are looking at learners holistically, and that I said earlier about looking at learners not from a deficit lens, but from an asset-minded lens. So trying to ensure that when we're looking at who applies to Grand Valley, their application, that we are taking into account all of their lived experience. And whether that is what may be happening within their community, what's happening in their school. It's important for us to look at that learner from all angles, not just from their test scores or from their GPA, or from the neighborhood that they come from or the family they came from. Yeah. But it's important for us to ensure that we're looking at them as a whole.
Yeah. It's a lot of noise around higher ed and going to college right now. I know when I was coming through the college ranks, I knew that going to college and getting a college degree was really my number one option. I knew that would be the option that would activate many things afterwards, right? I don't know if our prospective learners and even our audience are aware of the major benefits of getting a college degree. And I would imagine some are questioning that. Again, that was the option that I saw, and it was really clear for me. Talk to the audience about the value of a college degree and your thoughts on that concept.
Yeah, well, it makes you a better dresser. And, the value of a college degree, lifetime earnings potential. We know that a four-year degree leads to a lifetime of earning of, over $1 million more in your lifetime. We know that you have more a higher likelihood of greater health outcomes as well. You have greater likelihood of generational wealth and generational health also. And I think that, the what you get from the community that you develop in higher education is one that cannot be overstated or understated, where you have access to other great minds that allow you to then access other great places and avenues that can provide you with access to opportunities that you may not have been able to access whereas you didn't go to college or to earn a four-year degree. And I say four-year degree, not that earning a two-year degree isn't important, but a four-year degree the earnings potential is significantly higher when you earn a four-year degree than a two-year degree and a high school diploma. Potential. It's also about the what you get from the educational experience, how that opens your mind to new ideas, new thoughts and possibilities.
Yeah. Thank you. This is the Pathways Project podcast. So we can't go through this without talking about a pathway into Grand Valley State University. We got a ton of pathways that we've created, right? I mean, we could go out to our GV Next and Google pathways, and we will see all the different pathways that we've established at Grand Valley. Tell me what's your favorite and why.
Well, the 8th grade pathways to Grand Valley, I mentioned it earlier. The Pathways program assures 8th graders that we talk with that they are being told, at least by us, and maybe by us for the first time, that they can go to college, that they will go to college, and that we're there to support their journey. We're able to then stay connected to those learners all the way through high school, providing them with access to college, to Grand Valley, and to workshops that help them learn about the college going experience. We also connect with their families. If their families are interested in going to college, we can help them identify the right pathway for them, whether it is Grand Valley or somewhere else. So it's just such a wonderful way that the university connects with families early on and stays connected with them all the way through. We had an inaugural class this year that came through from the Detroit Achievement Academy. Out of the 25 learners we inducted, 22 applied to Grand Valley. I think it's really quite amazing. And, we just had a session with their current students and the alumni here at Grand Valley. So now we have, this concept of each one teach one. So you had those that came before you going back to provide you with the wisdom for how to get through. So now you have their former 8th grade pathway students going back to talk to the up and coming 8th grade pathway students. So it was just a wonderful thing to see and to be a part of that kind of generational experience. Yeah. So yes, it's my absolute favorite. And it's wonderful to be in the community and tell the community, your children are going to college, and we're going to support them. We're going to support them with tuition assistance. We're going to support them with scholarships. We're going to support them with student success initiatives. We'd support them with free tickets to games, and it's really quite an incredible program. And I'm not really aware of any other program similar to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Velez.
Yeah. Thank you.
You knocked it out the park.
Thank
you,
Dr.
Appreciate
Truss.
you.
Appreciate
Congratulations on all the great work that you've done and you'll continue to do. Thank you for spending some time with me today. And thank you all for joining us. And be on the lookout for our next podcast coming soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.